The first thing I wanted to do is kind of to share some numbers. And the reason why I wanted to start with some numbers is because I think it's important to understand how crucial is the content, the creators economy now for what we all going to live, for our future. And personally, that's one of the main reasons why I'm in this market, because I think it's something that definitely is going to grow a lot. And that's why I decided to curate this conversation with two content creators and with Easy, who's also in the content creator space, but he's in a platform. And I am myself in a platform as well. So we're going to have here a more like a dialogue of all the different angles that you see today working with content creators in both sides, and also with collaborations with brands. So first, so in today's world, this is a number that actually surprised me a lot. 29% of US children wants to become a YouTuber. So the reason why I'm bringing this number is because it's the future at the end of the day. It's really what some children, I mean 29% of children wants to be a YouTuber. So they want to be in this world that we all are, not only us, I mean you guys too. And the other thing, the other number that I kind of wanted to bring up is something that I actually heard here in the conference in South by Southwest. And so in the next 5 years, according to this person who shared this data with me, basically the creators economy will be bigger than the e-commerce space. And that tells you how is this market going to grow. It's going to be huge. It is big today, but it's going to be even bigger. So there's so many channels and opportunities today in the creators world, and that's why we wanted to today. I wanted to curate this conversation because I wanted you to have different angles on this market. So the first thing that I want to do is to start with the why. You know, why are we doing what we are doing? And I want the three of you guys to tell me, why are you guys in the creator space? What was the reason why you decided to become, in your case, in both of your cases, a content creator? You are a content creator, but behind of a platform, but he's a content creator himself too, Easy. So maybe you guys, any of you guys want to start with that. And if anyone here is a content creator, I want to say why other content creators too, just raise your hand, okay?
Okay, I can kind of start. My name is Alexandra Britt. I started content creation back in 2018. And I really just started sharing my outfits and products that I already loved to my audience. And while I got up the confidence to actually reach out to a brand, right? So once I got that confidence, I started getting kind of just product for post collaborations back then, which I was so excited about and I loved. And when I did that, I realized, oh my gosh, I love creating content. I love creating for a brand, putting my own spin on things, creating my own content and seeing how they use my content for their marketing. And it was just really fun for me, and I've had a passion for it. And I'll never forget my first paid collaboration. I got a discount code that I got to share with my followers, and I was like, okay, I can do this. Like, this is something I want to do. I want to be creative. I want to create and also build the community where people trust what my opinions are. And since then, I kind of never looked back and built a community where now I get to bring women together and do events and create content together, and I love it, and I think that's my why.
Awesome.
I always wanted to do YouTube since I was 11 years old, and it took me a long time to build up the courage to do so, but I grew up as a third culture kid. I grew up in so many different countries around the world, which gave me a really different perspective on life, on cultures, on people, and just being empathetic. And I had a different perspective that I wanted to share with the world. And that led me to wanting to serve others and kind of empower people to live life differently and live life on their own terms. So a huge part of content creation for me is the ability to serve others and give people a voice and the courage to take the plunge and kind of go after what they really want to do with their lives, because life is so precious and short that we shouldn't wait to follow our dreams and put all of that on the back burner.
How do I follow that up? That was both of those were great. I think
It's hard, man. It's hard.
it's very hard. I think for me, my why was very different. Both of you guys have great perspectives, but my why was a little different in that everybody that I saw creating content had a ton of money. They had things that I wanted. So I was like, oh, I can start creating content, and that's what happens. Unfortunately, I found very, very fast that that isn't what happens. There's a lot of people that see, like, you're creating content, awesome. Let me send a product for free, and hopefully you can make something happen or anything like that. So the reason why I'm working at a platform now is because I want to help creators actually monetize their own content so they don't have to rely on brands or anything like that moving forward.
It's very interesting that you talk about that you couldn't find the money that you were looking for, because that was going to be my next kind of like topic. For both of you, are you guys full-time content creators today?
I am not.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm
you?
part-time.
I am.
Okay, and you are, of course, because you work for a platform,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, somebody else sends my checks.
Okay. Okay, so this is interesting because it's two different perspectives here. So in your perspective, you're a full-time. How do you, what did you do to become a full-time in your case? And what stopped you to become a full-time content creator now?
So I probably had over 30 jobs in my life. I started working when I was 12 or 13 years old. I had a very interesting childhood, to say the least. And I knew from a young age that I was an entrepreneur. I have a very entrepreneurial spirit. I love thinking big and being a visionary. And when I was working in all of these different jobs, I kept coming to the conclusion that I was doing something too small and I wasn't able to really build the dream that I wanted. And I continued to create content for many years while I was working those jobs. So I worked in tech, I worked in service, I worked in so many different industries, but eventually I took the plunge and I just went for it, and it hasn't been a straight shot, nothing is, but I'm so glad that I did, because the learning experience has brought me to where I am today. And I think if you have a dream and you want to pursue that, you need to build a plan to exit the situation that you're in while you're building what you are working towards. So I look at it as, if you have 100% of your salary coming from, let's say, your full-time corporate job, start with making 10% of that salary from what your hobby is, 20%, 30%, and as you build that up, you can then transition over. I think that's the key, is just really being consistent, persevering, and not letting your dream die, because it is very easy in today's world to let your dreams die and to follow that societal plan. But
I'm like taking advice from her right now.
We all are.
I know. I'm part-time, and really it's the stability for me. Like, I need the stability income. Like Izzy mentioned, as he's helping creators earn more money, it's never consistent and it's scary. And so, like Natasha said, starting little by little, and I've been doing this since 2018, so it's been a while. Taking the plunge, I guess, is the way to go, and like, this is my passion and this is eventually where I want to get, but right now the stability for me is important, and so I'm trying to do both. Granted, my full-time job is in marketing, so it kind of aligns a little bit, but yeah, it's the stability for me right now.
All right.
Can I add something really quick?
Of course.
So it's kind of cool. I get to hear their side, and then I get to hear it from the brand side. So I have my own podcast, and from a content creation angle, I'm not in front of the camera like these two are. I have a radio voice for sure. And I think for my existence, I've always said that I wanted to be a full-time podcaster. And every day I work towards that a little bit, whether it's a new conversation or anything like that. And I think, as both of these individuals just said, I think it's just like those small steps add up into big impact. And that's just something you have to continuously tell yourself throughout your entire journey.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. That's a very interesting angle. So when we talk about influencers, content creators, the very first thing that everyone think about is the social media platforms, right? They think about Instagram, TikTok, all the social media platforms that we know. However, sometimes those social media platforms, they're supposed to be distribution and platforms to help content creators, and sometimes they're not, right? So I wanted to get all of you guys' perspective, because I think all of you have different experiences on, are the platforms today really helping you to become a better content creator? Are they putting some challenges now with you, maybe because of the algorithm, or maybe because the way that they post the content? Or do you see any other solutions? Like, is the only play to kind of like put your content together and just put it on the social media platforms? And this is going also towards you, because I know that's what your product is about. So it's an open question to the three of us, and anyone can start.
Go for it. Yeah, go.
So I think from my perspective, one of the things, and this will kind of come back into the platform I'm working for, but one of the things that my podcast has is a decent following that isn't on Instagram or on TikTok or anything like that. It's on a listener's base. So I can go out and reach my audience on Spotify or on Apple because they're following the podcast or anything like that on an everyday basis. But when it comes down to a new episode or a new snippet going out or a new announcement when I post on Instagram, I don't have quite the audience on my platforms. So one of the things that I've learned is that it's important to find out who's listening, who's paying attention, and everything like that. And one of the things I try to talk to creators like these two and others is truly the importance of starting to develop an email list. I know it sounds boring. Everybody gets junk emails. I just got one in my back pocket. It comes all the time, but there comes a time where Natasha or Alex wants to go out with a new post or anything like that and wants to go directly to their audience and not rely on the algorithm to be showing that content. And that's what's important, is starting to get that data and stuff like that. So I think the platforms themselves are a great, useful tool if you use them to build upon what you're building, not relying on them for your main source of income.
Going off of that, that's so important. Email lists, use your lead magnets. But for building a brand and building something in a community that you are truly passionate about, I think it's so important to sit with yourself and figure out what your why is and what your purpose for creating this content is. Because when you are so true to yourself and your own mission, people will find you. Your vibe attracts your tribe. And no matter what platform you're on, that will authentically show. And there are so many platforms these days. I think it's so important to repurpose content wherever you can, create pillar content, because you will burn yourself out. It's a lot of work to create content constantly. So work smarter, not harder. And then, of course, be true to yourself. And yeah, the algorithm's constantly changing. There's constantly trends. There's this and that. And if you keep chasing those, you're going to exhaust yourself. So always ground yourself in what your mission is and the bigger picture. Create a plan, a 1-year plan, 3-year plan, 5-year plan. Figure out where you want to go and what you're trying to create. Because social media will always be there, but there will always be a new platform. So if you have that community and that solid business model and those systems in place, you will be able to create something more sustainable than if you're constantly chasing the algorithm.
Yeah, I think too, for me being part-time, thinking about the algorithms and trying to adapt to them every single time, it's hard. It's not easy. And it takes the fun out of things too. Like, how much is this person or is my audience going to like things? So building that community that's supportive and supports what you're doing and believes in what you're doing, I think, is important on whatever platform you're on. But I also think that the way creators are creating today is shifting with UGC and other different models, that's kind of the way to go right now, because the algorithm is so ever-changing and you never know how your post is going to perform for your audience. If you create content because you love creating content for your brand, you can give that to the brand and take the worry out of it. Take the worry out of how well that's going to perform on your social channel. Give it to the brand and let it perform well on their social channel, because they have that saturated market already. That I think that's where the industry is kind of leading.
Interesting. I think that one thing that you guys are touching that I have here on my notes too is how to, how hard it is to do content creation every day, right? You need to think what you're gonna say. You need to kind of like put it together, videos, pictures, all different stuff, and then there's like, all these different media platforms. So you guys all do it together. You guys all do it on a daily basis. I know that as a fact. all three of you guys, and what are good habits that you have learned through the years doing this? Like maybe for someone of you guys that are listening to this conversation now are saying, for example, in my case, a lot of things happens when when I was starting to think about doing this on a daily basis. Someone was stopping me. I don't know. It was like, this is, oh my God, I need to put the copy. I need to write this, the videos, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So it's a lot of work. So, and one day I decided to do it and I started doing it. But you guys have been doing it professionally for a very long time. And I kind of wanted you guys to share, including myself, what are things that you learned in that journey that can help someone to start doing it on a daily basis too.
I can kind of take this. I think the biggest thing I learned, especially over the last couple of years, is to be authentic. And that's something I struggle with daily. Just be authentic, be real. And I think that a lot of people gravitate to whether you're telling a story on Instagram or a video or TikTok. Being authentically yourself, regardless of what people are going to think, I think has changed the game for me. I am an overthinker. I will continue to overthink everything. But being myself and being able to share parts of my life that maybe aren't that interesting. Maybe I'm working during the day and it's not that fun, but just that could relate to somebody. If somebody's trying to start a content on the side, like that could be somebody else, And so just being authentically myself, sharing whatever I want to share, I think that makes you a lot more personable and people can relate to you a lot more. I think that's the biggest thing that I learned over the last couple years.
Yeah, going off of that, being authentic is taking people on the journey with you, because as you are working from the bottom up, we always get caught in our heads. We're like, oh, we're not there yet. We want to make it to this point before we start sharing, or we want to look like this or whatever. But people love the journey. Like, we are on this journey with each other, and we can learn from our own journeys and other people's. So don't be afraid to share your highs and lows and what's really on your mind, because that is what is relatable and that is what connects us to each other. It's all of the little pieces in between. And then also, on another note, batching content. Just like if you have a thought that comes to your head that you're like the other day, I made a TikTok about online shopping. I was like, why is it so stressful? Like, why do I have all these tabs open for so long and I can't pull the trigger? And all these people were like, I feel the same way. And I'm like, it was so random. It's not on my brand or whatever, but it's like just throwing in those real moments of you and showing who, like, your own thought process and whatever is so good to connect with your audience, and then they'll respond. You have that dialogue, and it's like, if you are a consumer of content and not a creator, connect with the creators, comment, leave, like, let them know what you want to see, what you don't want to see. Because we're all here, like, we want to serve you. Like, that's kind of what we're doing. We want to be of value to you. So I think that's really important.
Plus one on all of that. I think the biggest thing for me when I start to develop content for the podcast and everything like that is something as simple as writing it out. Not that if you listen to my podcast, it is not scripted whatsoever, but just writing out the different things, the different topics I want to cover, or the different snippets that I really, really want to grab out of a podcast. While also, I used to work for a sneaker brand, and I basically went through and scripted out all the content that I wanted to do within a month. If that changed, if there was a new drop or anything like that, that's great. But if it doesn't happen, at least I have placeholder content for myself to constantly be posting versus just sitting there and saying, oh crap, what am I going to post today? And then it's just like taking up your entire morning on what should I post. I think being authentic as possible while also batching up that content will definitely help with that, but also just like make sure you have some sort of plan as well.
That's definitely a good one too. Let's talk about how you guys collaborate with brands, right? So, and especially the two of you, and I want your perspective because I know you work for brands too, hiring content creators too. So when you, I guess the main way that content creators monetize their work today is through collaborations with brands. That's what we currently encourage and empower in our platform today. And however, it's also hard, especially when you're starting. I want your perspective, especially here, maybe, I don't know, how many people from brands are here now listening to this conversation? There's one over there, another one over there. Okay, So I want your perspective, like maybe to say, very honest, what is the ideal work, what is the ideal way of you working with a brand so it could benefit them? And then from the content creator perspective, what would you recommend to someone that want to post something and say, you know, oh, maybe I love this brand and I would love to work with them? What would you do?
I can start with this one. So if you love something, if you love a brand or a product or something, make content about it, talk about it, and express your love for it, because that is how you create those authentic partnerships, and those are what are going to perform the best for you and for the brand and just everybody, because you're sharing what you already love. And like I said, just be authentically you, like share what you love and your aesthetic and everything. And as you do that, your vibe attracts your tribe, and that includes brands. The right brands will start reaching out to you, and you can reach out to those brands and share content, be like, hey, I already made this TikTok about your product and look at how it performed, and I would love to create a partnership. And that's how you make those long-lasting partnerships, which is what you want. You don't want to keep doing one-off things. So I think it's just really being real about what you love and not gatekeeping. Like, don't be like, oh, I'm not going to post about this brand until they start paying me or until something comes out of it, but just go for it from the front and just be open to it.
Yeah, I'm going to add off on that. I completely agree. And when I started out, I was reaching out to brands after already actually posting about them because I loved them. And I started off doing just kind of product to post stuff. I wasn't making any money because I was just passionate about the product that I was sharing. And I feel like that's so important, to share brands that you actually believe in and you trust the product, because that's what your audience is going to see. And so if you believe in the product, or if you don't believe in the product and you're sharing that, you're going to lose credibility. So I started off doing product to post, and I was so happy with that. I was like, okay, I can do this. And then I think one of the biggest things that I've learned is I created a media kit with my pricing, and I think one of the biggest mistakes creators make is not keeping your pricing. Your time is money, and it's valuable, and this is your job. You're creating something for a brand, and if you're going to give that to them that they can use in any way they want, and your pricing, I think a lot of creators' pricing isn't that expensive, and you just got to know your worth and know your value and know that what you're creating, this is a job. This is your product that you're putting in front of a brand. And if a brand doesn't want to work with you because of that, then move on and move to the next brand, because there are going to be brands that want to work with you and respect your pricing and respect your time. I think that's the biggest thing I learned.
Yes. So from the brand perspective, 1,000%. Because I've been on the other side of the table and I've seen the budgets, and then they're like, see if they can do it cheaper. Right? And that's seeing it from the other side as a creator. I'm like, I don't really want to, because that's me sometimes on the other side. So I think from the brand perspective, I think one of the things that we love to see with creators, and some of the brands love to see with creators, are those things that you both spoke about. You already use the product and everything like that. Unfortunately, you log on to YouTube today and you still get the brands that send it to somebody that isn't on brand for them or anything like that. And I think truly those brands are starting to realize, like, we're starting to build out a tribe of creators that maybe don't have 10 million followers, but have the same impact, right? So I think from the brand perspective, it's very, very important to identify creators that are up and coming, like both of you guys, and then while also having a really, really great community surrounding them. From the creator perspective, if I can, I think one of the things that I learned very early on in sneakers was there's a ton of competition out there, right? So what's going to set you apart? What do you do differently and everything like that? For me, it was the podcast, but for each of you, it might be something different. So I think just identifying what makes you stand out compared to the competition or any other creator out there that works with a brand that you really, really want to work with. I think once you identify that in your niche, just lean into that, because there's a ton of money in this. And I think truly, if you stay true to your pricing, I think we'll all win together.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the biggest trends now in the creators economy is influencers launching their own products, and I think that this speaks about what you guys were saying before about, you know, being passionate about a product and anything. But how about if I'm passionate about a product that doesn't exist, right? And I want to create something from scratch. By the way, this is not a, a commercial, but these women here, by the way, they have amazing CBD products. They are doing that. What they are doing is creating a platform for content creators, for people to create their own lines of CBD through their own channels. So that's another angle of how this market is growing as well. So maybe you guys don't have products today, but if you were to create a product tomorrow, which we have seen a lot from creators, actually here in the South by Southwest conference, Shopify creates something like that. They create a creators market when they're launching products from content creators that they decided to become basically, they create their own products. So if you were to do your own product, what would it be?
I would love to start this off because I tried to do Amazon FBA a few years ago, and I wish that this existed then, because I try to do a spin-off brand from what I do in like travel, and because there's so much that goes on in the back end of creating a product, manufacturing, sourcing, doing all the vetting, and then also just like the SEO research, the product research. I was doing all of that on my own while doing content creation full-time, which is a full-time job as it is. So now I am talking to companies like this that do kind of white label, or you can work with them and they'll take care of that while you take care of the front end. And I think it was so necessary because, yeah, I have my niche, which is mostly like travel, digital nomads. So while I was creating this travel brand that ended up not working out, but I'm so glad I did it because it was the best learning experience, I wish that there was something like this that exists. And if you are a content creator and you want to create your own product, whether it's digital or like a physical product, I think it's so important to really be clear on what works best for you, because there's so many different products you can create within any niche, and you need to know like what way does your brain work, like how are you going to be able to be successful, because a physical product for me personally now I realize wasn't the best thing for me to do because my brain doesn't work that way. So it's just, it all goes back to really understanding yourself and like what you want to do and how you function best.
Yeah, I think content creation, you're creating a brand. You are the brand, right? And so with what the goal, well, for me, is to create product with that brand. And so what that brand is, or what that product is, I don't know yet, but that's the ultimate goal, right? So partnering with somebody that you trust and that can build that dream and make that dream a reality, I think is so important. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. And maybe that's the one thing that'll bring me from part-time to full-time, is having the product and having the brands that go along with it.
Well, you, easy.
I think this goes back into the importance of an email list. And I'm going to say this every single time because what we're all doing when we post on Instagram, TikTok, or anything like that, we're building in, it's technically a loaned audience, because at any point, TikTok can take down my profile and all of a sudden my 100,000 followers are gone, right? So you have to start to build an owned audience and build it through email or build it through your website or anything like that. And once you start to develop and start to have this list of your audience that really, really, for lack of better terms, sorry if I can't swear, but really, really fucks with you, I think truly there's a world where we can sit down, or you can sit down as a creator and launch directly to your audience and learn a lot from them. Maybe take feedback on a makeup thing that you're doing, or maybe a shoe you're launching or anything like that. Maybe you develop something with the audience over time. But I think in this standpoint, it's truly building that owned audience versus a loaned one.
Now that you're speaking about that, I know about the case studies that you guys have in the platform that you work today in live. And I kind of wanted you to share that because I think it's very on point with what you are just mentioning about how you are building a product that is helping creators to, monetize their own work, and also ultimately even be here in this festival, premiering movies, having deals on HBO and things like that. So maybe, I don't know if you want to share maybe one of those examples and what do you guys do as a platform?
Yeah.
And people can, get inspired.
Okay, so it's going to be an elevator speech that I have not worked on, so please bear with me.
This
So-
was not in the script.
No, it was not. Raise your hand if you know Steve Aoki. Okay. Raise your hand if you know what NFTs are. Do you actually know what NFTs are, or is it just like this concept that most people don't really know of? Okay. So basically, what our platform did for someone like Steve Aoki, he launched a NFT. So he had over 30,000 NFT pass holders that he wanted to go out and have a exclusive concert for. And this concert was amazing. It was virtual, but you use your NFT to actually go through, get through. That was your ticket. So basically, you entered your NFT. You were into the entire concert series. So we do stuff like that for Steve Aoki, but most notably yesterday, we launched Monday, we launched a film our client launched a film at the film festival for South by Southwest called The New Americans. Her name is Andi Timiner. She's amazing. The movie had people like Jordan Belfort in it and stuff like that. So what we did for her was actually bring all her content that she has. She has years of archives. I'm not trying to age her if she's watching this at all, I swear, but she has amazing content out there and amazing movies. And what we did was actually make a home for her content on her website so she can start developing that email list, whether it's short form content like TikTok that you just want to throw on your website, or what she's been doing really recently is actually creating YouTube trailers and pointing people to her website to actually watch the rest of the movie or anything like that. So that's the rest of my pitch, but I really, really think that like a platform like this, whether it's in live or whether it's a competitor, hopefully it's not a competitor after listening to this, but I think truly, 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 if you can take anything away from this, everything that these two people are saying is just very, very, very valuable, but please just start to develop that email list if you're a creator as well.
Does anyone has any questions or have anything to say to, yeah, okay.
My name is Chewy with Spaceport. The previous question about product and how brands, you guys are an IP yourself. So what we do is we help brands, content creators, and IP holders monetize their IP better in like the metaverse. I knew you were at the Web3 space. You kept talking about ownership. I was like, okay, he's definitely a Web3 guy. Just wanted to say one thing on content creators can like partner up with manufacturers, but there's a lot of costs, like you're saying, right? One way that you could also monetize your IP in that product sense would be through licensing. But a question to Izzy with Web3. I know you keep saying ownership when it comes to email lists. Mm-hmm. How do you think about like the new Web3 platforms popping up that's like for content creators, but you get the ownerships of being on the Web3 and blockchain?
I think personally, all right, I'll say this from a corporate environment. I don't see my boss here, so I think I could say it on an Izzy perspective. I'm just kidding. I think from a Web3, just everything that's popping up, I love it. I think one of the things that a lot of people are very wary of is we have it. I'm the king. When I joined this organization, I have former coworkers here. I love dumbing it down so that the joke is my grandpa can understand what I'm doing. And that's one thing that Web3 hasn't done yet. We have not actually sat down and said, how do we dumb this down to a point where my grandpa can understand it, right? And maybe some of these content creators aren't my grandpa, but at the end of the day, I think truly if we get it to a point of everyone can understand what we're building towards and everything like that, I think there's literally no limits to what we're building in Web3. Whether it's my platform through InLive or it's someone else, I really think that this is a space ripe for investment and everything like that. Am I buying land in a metaverse? No, not right now. I don't even have a house, so I need to buy my house first and then I'll do it. But I think truly I think it's a ripe space, and I think creators would almost be doing themselves an injustice by not at least educating themselves before it starts to pop off, because then you're one of the first to get involved when it's really, really starting to pop off again.
Any other questions here? Okay.
I'm constantly doing interesting things like today, but I never like get out my camera. I never film. I'm just like existing, but like I want to be a content creator, but I can't get the courage to pull out my phone, open up my camera, and film the interesting things that I'm doing. because I'm doing them. I'm just not filming.
Okay.
So I would say commit. Like think about sit down with your journal, first of all, and with yourself, and like what kind of content do you want to create, and think about how can what you do and what you're creating serve other people, because at the end of the day, when we look at anyone's content, we're seeing a mirror of ourselves, and that's how I create my content, is thinking of it as my viewer, my audience is just seeing a version of themselves, and I'm helping guide them on their own journey through my journey. So think about how you can add value to their lives through your content, and then who inspires you, what content creators inspire you, what do you like about them, their aesthetic, their editing, how they film, their personality, and find those elements in yourself and then recreate them in your own way. I think if you take those different things and then if you just take the plunge, like I remember when I told you I wanted to do YouTube since I was 11 or 12 years old. I started when I was 21 or 22, and I just had to tell myself, okay, you're taking the next month, you're gonna vlog every single day, you're gonna learn how to edit, you're gonna just do it. No one else is gonna do it for you or push you to do it except yourself. It has to be intrinsic. But I think if you just take that step, you'll be able to create beautiful content.
I want to kind of build off of that because I know it could be scary. And I started with no following, and I kind of just started. And I think you, at some point, I know you're creating a brand, and you're in front of an audience, whether you want to be or not. It's scary. It's not easy putting your entire life on social media, and that's still something that scares me, and I'm working through, and I'm still every day trying to show like the bad moments versus just all the good. I think you just have to start like no one's watching. Like, don't worry about, and I need to take my own advice, don't worry about what everybody else thinks. If this is something you're passionate about, and if this is something you feel like you are meant to do, you just have to start like no one's watching. Kind of fake it till you make it, because if you're consistent and you create a plan and you're like, this is what I want to do, things will fall into place. You'll start seeing that little by little, the growth and people relating to you. It's scary, and I'm still scared every single day, but it's worth it. Like, if this is your passion, it's so worth it. You just have to start.
Can I add really quick?
Sure.
So one of the things when I was very, very heavy into content creation before this job took over my entire life, one of the things that I did and challenged myself was I gave myself a month. I believe it was October of last year. On October 1st, I said, I'm going to do 31 days straight. I'm going to create a reel. I don't care what it looks like. I'm going to post it. If it does, great, whatever. And if it doesn't, whatever, right? But every day that I did that, I learned something from it. And I think truly, going back to the committing and everything like that, I think truly that's where it comes back down to. And it's almost challenging yourself at the same time.
Another thing that I would like to add that is actually my next and last topic, and then I know there was a lot of other few questions that I will bring up, is the other big opportunity that I see is UGC, user-generated content. Because I think the barrier to getting to user-generated content, everyone is here familiar with UGC? Yep. No one, is there anyone that doesn't know what UGC is? Okay, you don't know, okay. So user-generated content is basically when you create content directly for a brand, and you don't necessarily have to post it on social media. Let's say you like to create videos and you know how to put together some videos, but you don't have the following today, right? So if you don't have the following and you know that you have the style and you can create amazing and cool videos, you can still monetize that work directly with the brand. That's actually what the trend that we see in the platform that is growing a lot now. I mean, you were mentioning it as well too. It's basically creating content directly for the brand without necessarily has to post it in social media. And I kind of wanted to touch on UGC with the three of you guys too. What do you see UGC growing? In your cases, how many collaborations are you guys doing today? Are you getting a lot of requests into do UGC? And where do you see this going? Because I think that me coming from the video production world, that's where I'm coming from. I produce videos for a lot of different platforms and brands and content. I see this avenue like very straightforward. I don't see like these connections between the algorithm and everything in the social media. Then the brands have more power because they can see the conversions with the video. And then the influencers like you can really start creating content tomorrow without having to have thousands of followers. So I want to get all your perspective, the three of you, and then we go to the next questions.
Yeah, I can start. I love that this is the way that content creators are going because it takes the pressure off the creator. So we love to create. We love to create the content, and let's focus on that and not the back end of how well it's going to perform on my social media channel. Like if I just get to create content for the brand, give that to the brand and let them run with it, I love that. I think I'm so happy that that's the way that the trend is going because I just feel like it lets the creator be who they are and the brand can kind of run with it after that.
To put it in perspective, if you think about the budgets that all of these brands had for commercials and video production 20 years ago, tens, thousands, hundreds and thousands of dollars, that money is now not being used for those commercials in many cases, and it should be used for content creation because this is how we are consuming advertising these days. So when you're pricing UGC content, it's a lot of times you're like, oh, you're not posting it on your own platform, so you don't need to charge that much. But in reality, like we should be charging a lot more because they are now allocating that budget to UGC content, and that is what is more powerful. And when you see how many views some of these TikToks or Reels get that is UGC content, it's millions of views. That must have cost them hundreds and thousands of dollars to pump ad spend into. So if they can spend that much to pump ad spend into, they should be able to pay you a ratio of that for the content creation itself. And many times they don't. And I've experienced that, and I've experienced a lot of like trade for UGC with these huge brands, and I'm just like, why? Like, why would you not want to take care of the creator? I don't know.
Let's go for those hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I want to add on that because it makes it more authentic when a creator is creating something for the brand. That makes it more relatable to somebody. So if anything, you should be charging more and the brand should be willing to pay more because it's just more authentic for their brand rather than creating a commercial type photo or video.
There were more questions, I know. You were here first.
Thank y'all so much. I'm learning a lot. My name is Mish.eco. My question is about brand partnerships. Bless you. My question is about brand partnerships. So I'm wondering how you kind of navigate, like how much the statistics are relevant in terms of like male versus female or age demographics, where they live in the world types of things when you're pitching to a brand. And I guess that's my first question. My second one, sorry, I've had a couple drinks, is also kind of on the opposite end, like how do you decide who you're going to work with in terms of your rates? Like if you're charging the same rates for like a small business or sustainable business, something that's up and coming versus something that's more established, are you changing your rates or your media kit, that type of thing per partnership or like the brand you're interested in? Thank you.
That's a really great question. The brands that I choose to work with are brands that I already either have in my home or have used. I'm a very big believer of working with brands that I believe in and want to share with my following because it makes the content more authentic. If I don't like the product or don't believe in it, it just won't work and it'll come across in your content. And I see that, I think, with a lot of creators. And absolutely, I will change my rates based off of the company that I'm wanting to work with, especially if it's a startup, if it's a new company, and if I really believe in the product and want to help them out and I really like it, I still will do product for post because if it's a small company and I believe in it, I want to support them. I'm about, I think, empowering brands and, you know, whether it be a small company or a big one, I just want to share that to my following, and sometimes it doesn't matter about the rate, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I love posting for small businesses, especially like women-owned businesses, because closed hands can't receive. And I think the more that you're able to give from where you're able to give, and if that's just your voice, let that be it, and share what you love. And then the brands that are aligned with you are going to come And if a brand is bigger, if I love that brand and they can't meet my rates right away, I will say, hey, look, I'm willing to negotiate, and because I'm looking for a long-term partnership, and I'm always looking for those long-term relationships with whether it's a brand or even an influencer agency. I have so many great relationships with agencies that just are the mediator of these brand collabs, and they always will think of me when it comes to a new campaign or something that's aligned, because at the end of the day, we're all people on the other end of that email, on the other end of the TikTok that you're watching, whatever it is. And we just want that connection, and we want to help each other in some sort of way, whether it's a brand helping us like with promoting, or we're helping the brand with promoting their product, and then they're helping us by sharing our content and everything. It's like we want to see each other win. So find your tribe again and find what's in alignment with you.
So we're gonna take 2 more questions, and then of course you have all the afternoon to talk to everyone here. So who else has you? I think you were here first.
Hi, this is awesome. I'm taking a lot of notes, as you can see. I have a nonprofit, and we help young women grow through bullying. So we created a journal. A lot of it's cyberbullying, because that's what we're seeing a lot these days. But my question is, have you considered working with nonprofits? And if so, like, what does that look like? What is a nonprofit outreach kind of, if you have any advice for me on that? And then secondly, like, I know that when you have influence and when you have following, it can be hard with cyberbullying. So any tips on like moving forward with courage and getting over those negative comments or doubts? So those are a 2-part question too.
Can I start? For the pitch specifically, and then you have the 2 content creation experts right next to me, I promise. For the pitch specifically, I think I do a lot of consulting work, and one of the nonprofits that I work with up where I'm at is in the political space, but very much pushing towards breaking barriers and boundaries and everything like that. They didn't know how to go out to people. They were like, hey, we don't know if 1, they agree with my message, or 2, if they don't agree with my message, are they going to put me on blast? So basically what we did was start to develop a strategy on identifying the people that really, really come through and support us, asking them who are some friends that you think would be the best to possibly get this message out to, or anything like that, whether they're content creators or not, and almost organically growing in that standpoint, while also identifying creators that are really, really about your mission. So whether it's going through hashtags or anything like that, I think that that's a really, really cool strategy that you could probably do. And then the last point is the actual outreach to that. I don't even throw, really, a lot of the time, it's truly like, I don't give too much information. I'm saying, let's jump on a call, because your email to me won't be as passionate about the entire subject as if we were to have a 15-minute conversation, right? So I think it's truly those 3 steps for the pitch, but I'll let these people talk about the content.
So I love that you're doing nonprofit work, and for me, that's a huge thing that I'm passionate about. So I went to the Syrian refugee camps in Lebanon, created content on that and everything. I studied international relations, and that's always been something I've been very passionate about. And after I made that content, the UN reached out to me to be an ambassador for them. So now I'm working with them as like an UNHCR ambassador. And I think that is so, it was always my dream actually to work for the UN, like when I was in college, because I was like, oh, I'm gonna go get a job at the UN or an NGO or something. And so to be able to work with them in this capacity by doing what I love and creating my own business, but also being able to serve, and everyone that's doing this, like they have something they're passionate about that they want to serve. And I think, again, what Izzy said, going off of that, like finding those people who are already creating about that topic. And for you, cyberbullying, there are so many people, especially content creators, creating about that topic, because I know I've received mean comments and mean messages, and you have to take it with a grain of salt, but it's out there. And people, I think if you are a content creator, you have to remember hurt people, so have that sympathy and that empathy for those people who are sending those comments. But at the same time, it's so common, it's becoming a bigger issue every day as social media grows, and I couldn't even imagine being a child in today's day and age. But I think, yeah, just finding those people who are already creating the content on that and just Calls are everything. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys said it. That was great, but also have an idea for you so we can talk after. But I think that kind of comes with the job too, just as an FYI with content creation. I get mean messages a lot, and it still today affects me. So being ready to receive them and know that it like she said, hurt people. So again, I like the hashtag idea that Izzy said, finding creators that are already creating about the content and reaching out to them.
Hey guys, loved all the wisdom, the knowledge. I am curious about when you're building your brand and you are establishing, your content. Is there a formula or something you've realized that has perfected your own brand in terms of like, hey, I'm talking about my lifestyle, like traveling, being a nomad, being in corporate, love X, Y, and Z like topics, because I see some content creators that are just speaking about like find your niche and that's it. And I'm curious, right, as someone who does more like traveling and I'm starting my own business, and people have asked me like, you should, do your own like platform, but I get overwhelmed. So what is your advice? Have you figured out, as you establish your brand, how much do you post for each pillar within your brand?
So
Thank you. Very good question.
this is something that I've definitely struggled with because I have so many different interests and passions, but I think it's so important to really find your niche mix, which is basically figuring out what you're interested in different areas and how they all tie back to each other, and creating content around all of these things in a way that serves your viewer. You want to make shareable content, you want to make savable content. So it's like people love those things that inspire them, like those quotes or whatever that they're going to share to their stories, or if you're giving tips on something, people will probably save that. So figure out how you can serve those people, and also have that open dialogue with your audience, because it really is a dance with your audience. Like, what do you want to see? Then you create something, and then they give you feedback, and just grow and evolve off of that, and then also your own journey. So you just have to find that balance between everything. But niching down is powerful in some ways. You can grow very quickly, but I do have a lot of content creator friends who are massive, but they've niched down, grown so quickly, and now they don't feel connected to their content because the people are following them for the topic that they've created on and not themselves, and they feel like they're constantly having to perform for the audience rather than being able to connect. So I think there's a balance between niching down and then also being authentic, because you don't end up wanting to grow this whole business that you are literally just a part of the machine. You don't want to burn yourself out in that way.
I want to add on that. I think the biggest thing that's helped me is finding like-minded creators that you can connect with, because as Natasha said multiple times, find your tribe. Like, finding those women that are in the same space that you want to be in and messaging them, connecting with them, creating some sort of community with like-minded creators. Like, don't be threatened that they're doing it already. They probably want to help you. They probably have advice to give you. And I think that's the biggest thing that helped me grow, was finding my community within the creator space specifically, rather than like an audience. Because like-minded people and women support women who are, I just think that's huge. Just finding like-minded creators that can help you. And I want to say like 99% of the time, they would be willing to help you.
We got time? All right. So I think two things. Absolutely yes on everything you both said. I think there's almost two ways I want to take this. It's let's face it, like I said earlier, like somebody else signs my checks every 2 weeks. I work in corporate, but then I'm also like this super creative individual. I have my own agenda, as some people say sometimes, where I want to promote myself or promote my brand, promote my podcast or anything like that. But then I also want to help my business grow because I need that check every 2 weeks, right? So essentially, I've been able to, when it comes down to like content creation from my standpoint, I've been able to make certain types of content platform specific. So if I want to be more thought leadership based, I post a lot on LinkedIn, and that's where I have my biggest following. When I really want to talk about sneakers, I'll post on my Instagram. And if I want to talk about random stuff, I'll throw on my TikTok or even tweet it. But I really think that I'm a little bit more platform specific while also being a little bit weirder compared to these two. But I think the last thing I do want to leave people with is whether you're a creator or whether you work in corporate today, the power of LinkedIn specifically. There's a number of individuals in here that I see that I connected on LinkedIn early on in my career, and I still me and him connected on LinkedIn, and this is the first time we meet in real life, and we've been able to do business deals and everything like that, and it's all through this platform called LinkedIn that some people just use as a digital resume. But if you just start to share your thoughts on there about the industry you're working in or anything like that, I'm not telling you to go through and start posting TikToks. I'm telling possibly like maybe there's an article that comes out about this and just say I was so happy I was here or anything like that. Just honestly utilizing LinkedIn as a networking tool and not just a resume. My cousin's in the corner. I told her this yesterday. So I think if there's anything that we could do, if anyone takes anything away from this, is listen to these two. Don't listen to me too much other than get on LinkedIn.
So guys, thank you very much. We can be talking about content creators here all afternoon because, as you can tell, the four of us are really passionate about this market. And as I was saying at the beginning with those numbers, I kind of wanted to show to you where this market is going and how the future of content creator is going to. So feel free to stay. We're here to keep talking. So we just need to shut down the microphones. Well, actually, as you see there, it says 3 p.m. and it's already 3:14. So I really want to thank everyone for your questions, for being so connected with us in this conversation. And if you have any questions for any of us, we also have our booth over there with the platform. Anything that you want to know, we're here just for you guys. Thank you very much.